Okay, everybody. Thanks again, everybody turning up here on our webinar. You know, we have this channel that we call WeBInar on our YouTube channel, and we will be recording this talk as well. As usual, we will allow our speaker to kind of run through the recording afterwards and see if he's happy with that. I'm sure he will be happy with that. This is also our English talking webinars, because we think this is the way to kind of increase the level of our talks here in Denmark. And you know, at our beekeeping conferences and so on, we are translating our talks, but here we kind of give the speaker free. And I'm very happy to welcome today Wolfgang Wimmer from Austria, who has been working with heat treatment, which kind of seems to, in Europe right now at the moment, to be more and more hot. And therefore, we're happy that he actually offered himself to present some of his work with his heat treatment machine, but also, as he also already earlier today told us, also the strategy of how to fight Varroa and not using any kind of drugs. Mm-hmm. This is very exciting. I have to say, I have an article here. It's from 1985 from a magazine that we call Api Acta, and there the Russians, they started to talk about heat treatment, and there's even a note on Kiroasi from 1973, also Russia, talking about heat treatment. Mm-hmm. And I can tell everybody that we did work in the Danish Beekeeper Association in the 90s with heat treatment as well, and kind of things, I would say, got forgotten. And sometimes things, they're getting forgotten for a period, and then new periods, new times, new types of beekeepers are turning up and are ready to kind of work with this. So Wolfgang, warmly welcome you here to our webinar, and I'm really looking forward to a very exciting talk from your side, just to put pressure on you. And now I will shift to the next screen where your talk is, so please be patient. Sure. And I will leave you now and give the stage for you. And please make a little bit more presentation of yourself than I did.
So, Remy, thank you very much for having me on your webinar. Yeah, I like it a lot, this word. Let me introduce myself. My name is Wolfgang Wimmer. I'm from Vienna. To put things in right order, I'm a certified beekeeper, organic certified beekeeper, a passionate beekeeper. I'm also a professor at the Vienna University of Technology, where I'm working in the department here for product development. And I am also managing director of a company engineering consultancy, which is providing this engineering service for eco-design, sustainable product development, developing eco-products for and with other companies. In 2009, I came to my people in my team, hardware and software developer, and I said to them, you know what? I have an idea for an own product. And they said, what is it? I said, yeah, my passion for beekeeping comes together with your and my competence in product development. And let's start something very hot. So, let's start something to treat against the Varroa mite with heat. Okay? And I know very well this literature that you were presenting here. Already from the 1970s, I was consulting Professor Engels in Tübingen, in the University of Tübingen, who started already in 1990 with these activities of heat treating against the Varroa mite, and he was very successful at that time. And as you very well said, Fleming, the things get forgotten. And on the other hand, electronics developed dramatically further, and so we can now see some products that we developed, meaning the Varroa Controller, the heat treatment device, but also another product. But I don't want to talk about product. I would like to talk about the annual treatment plan. The annual treatment plan for healthy bees. That is now 10 years on the market, and we have several hundreds users of our system. I was also publishing a book about it more later, towards the end of this presentation, and I was publishing this annual treatment plan in a series of articles, so every month article in the Austrian beekeeping magazine in 2015. And I was in the January article, I was saying, you know what? Who is following this will not lose any hive anymore. And they said, wow, that's a bit arrogant and so on. Yeah? But next spring, 1 year later, they said, Mr. Wimmer, you were absolutely right. This is what I did, and this is how it worked. Huh? So it's suitable for small and large apiaries, no problem. It has been tested from several institutes and successfully applied. Almost 10 years now, no chemicals, of course. And it also works under massive reinfestation. So when in autumn a lot of mites are coming in from outside, you still can use these tools and get rid of the mites. And it's safe. It's safe for bees and it's safe for beekeepers. What do you see here? Unfortunately, I cannot hear you. But I guess all of you say, well, there is a bee on the right-hand side that has a dramatically shorter body. The body is shorter than the wings. This is obvious here. And this is a clear sign of viruses. Bee viruses are massive danger and raise the level of, or let's say, increase the level of tolerance for mites, of course. Yeah? They already speak about epidemic virus infections in German, Austrian, Switzerland. As you know, the viruses are directly transmitted, bypassing the bee's immune system and are damaging the bees. Long-term damage leads to entirely damage of the entire colony. What can you do? Well, we all know, control the Varroa. That is what you can do, and this is the only thing that you can do. And what problems are we facing these days? We already spoke about that before the lecture here. We have warmer autumns, we have warmer winters, we have extended productivities, we have conditions where the bees are breeding through the whole year. So this is something we can clearly see from climate change. We face situations also in the traditionally northern part of Austria where the bees are breeding through all year round. And now concepts are failing. Then we see bee viruses transmitting by the Varroa mite. I mentioned that. The classical methods are less and less effective. We see some resistance of mites, of course. You know that also. And we see overlapping of honey harvesting period and treatment cycle. Actually, you're running out of time. You should already treat against the mite, but you still want to await another treatment. Another harvesting, a sunflower, whatever. But you should actually already treat and stop the honey harvest. Right? So what is needed, a new and effective treatment plan, as I would say, is needed. New in the sense that it's adapted to the future challenges, the ongoing and future challenges due to climate change, viruses, and effective one that you can apply under any kind of circumstances. And this is what I would like to show you. When I was writing the book, when I was investigating for this product development, we had 4 important facts to consider concerning the Varroa mite. So what are the 4 important facts one should know about Varroa? You probably know, but just give a common understanding here. The total mite population anytime throughout the year. How many mites do you have in your hive? Who knows it today? Hands up. Okay, I cannot see you. but I hope everyone knows how many mites he or she has in the hive. The next thing you need to know is the uncontrolled reproduction rate of mites in a beehive. You should know where is the mite. So how many mites are in the breeding cells, how many are attached to adult bees. And you should know the threshold. How many mites can a healthy, normal hive can sustain, tolerate? Okay. So if you have an answer to these 4 questions, then you are already on a good path to come up with a treatment. So how do we answer these 4 questions? Well, first of all, the total mite population. There are several techniques how to do it. I prefer the tray that is underneath of the bottom, and the bottom has a mesh, and everything that falls down from the frames goes through the mesh into this tray. I apply a sticky glue around so that I can then count the mite fall, the dead mites, of course, and no ants take them away. This is why I apply the sticky glue. I calculate the daily mite fall based on a weekly average, and then I multiply by the reproduction factor and come to a total mite population. Can I give an example? I usually go once a week, let's say Saturday to Saturday. I go to my hive. 7 days, I find 21 mites. So how large is the mite population? Already, you know it already. Okay, so it's 21 times 7 is 3 mites a day. In spring, we usually calculate it 200. And then you have round about 600 mites in the hive. 600 mites, maybe you say, well, that's a lot, that's not a lot. Let's see, we will come to that. The second thing is the reproduction rate. And here, we humans, we like so much 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so linear thinking, but this is not linear, as you very well know. It's 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128. So this is a logic we are not so used to. These exponential functions we don't can handle so well. So this doubling per month, so the double per month, so out of the 600 we had before, 1 month later it's 1200. 1200. Some say it's even faster than 1 month, depending on different conditions. I don't want to go into the detail now, but roughly speaking, doubling per month. And so here we have to be very careful with systems that double per month. And the third question is, where are they precisely? Where are the mites precisely? So in spring, like the bees, they want to reproduce. So we can say around about 80% of the mites are in the breeding cells. More precisely, in the capped breeding cells. That's already a good hint, a good first hint. They are in the capped breeding cells. They are not in the open brood cells, they are in the capped breeding cells. In summer, 70% of the mites are in the capped breeding cells, and in autumn, still more than half is in the breeding cells. So this is already a first very important information. And then the threshold. So one can discuss with all the beekeepers, and they say, yeah, and then we did a treatment, and then we had 4,000 mites, etc. Forget it. These numbers are not realistic anymore. If you want to be on the safe side, you should think about the viruses, you should think about other influencing factors on bee health, and you should stay well below 1,000, in my opinion. So stay well below 1,000 and you are safe. You are rather safe than sorry. So this is already answers to our 4 questions. Total mite population, daily mite fall times 200, uncontrolled production rate doubling per month, 80% in the brood in spring, and stay below 1,000. So this is already your recipe. You can go and you can apply it. And you can draw your conclusions. The conclusion out of those factors is early and in the brood. So target the enemy, target the varroa mite early, and targeted in the capped brood, to be more precise, because there you have 80% of those. So we need a treatment that kills the mite in its reproduction cycle without harming the pupa, which is also in the capped brood cell. And here the heat treatment is just the perfect thing to apply. Professor Engels found out that the mite resists a bit less temperature than the pupa. So there will be a kind of forming of heat shock proteins which then lead to the damage of the Varroa mite, and it will then cause within 20, 30 hours the death of this mite. And the same would happen to the bee if the temperature is too high. The bee pupa, to be more precise. Yeah? So this little difference we use with our special sensors, electronic, to exactly measure that and precisely warm up to that situation so that the mite will die and the bee pupa is not harmed in this treatment. So what is, and another, because there was a question about it, heating up the entire hive will not work, because it was also tested and done by Professor Engels already in the 90s. The bees always fight against this heating up of the entire colony. They are masters in managing temperature and humidity, as you very well know. So what is now the annual treatment plan for safe beekeeping? What does it consist of? Well, I would say a first cornerstone is the important spring treatment. Whenever I have a doubling per month, whenever I have an exponential function, it is very important to start early a treatment. However it works, the early and latest from Samuel Ramsey, also here on this WeBInar channel, we know the one that waits loses. And he gave us an excellent presentation for the reasons why this is going to happen. So the early, the better. So with heat, we can already do a spring treatment without harming our honey harvest, etc. The second thing is a summer treatment, which I will show you in a bit, using the so-called Duplex-Framebox, which we also developed a couple of years ago. And then the third one is an autumn treatment to combat also possible reinfections. Can I go through step by step through this annual treatment plan, and then I summarized it for you. So this spring treatment, what is it doing? So again, our curve here, starting in February with this 100, or could be 50, it doesn't matter. So 100, 200, 400, and then we do an intervention, we do a heat treatment, and by that time, I usually do it end of March, beginning of April. So this is the time here in Vienna when this is a good timing for that. I usually have 2 to 3 capped root cells. Okay, capped brood cell. Not, I have an open brood cell, but there is no Varroa mite, as we already know. So per colony, I have 2 to 3 frames to treat. And the frames look like this one here, yeah? And mostly capped root. I take them out, I brush off the bee, and I will do the heat treatment. And then what happens is that we can kill those who are in the capped brood cells. We already know this is around about 80%. Huh? So from these 400 mites, let's say, we will see around about the 300, 320 on our tree. So this 80% of 400 is this 320 roundabout you will find. Huh? the exponential function continues, but at a much lower level. And that's actually where we want to have it. So you see that the damage threshold here at 1000. If we would not do anything here in April, it would be reached very soon. And so it will maybe reached by end of July, beginning of August. So this is the very important first intervention, 2 to 3 frames. That works very well. The machine can accommodate 20 frames. So I have, let's say, 8, 9 hives. To be more precise, the capped brood cells of 8 to 9 hives in one treatment. This is the machine, the Varroa Controller. How you can use for this one. Yeah? There are several models, but this is the model where you can accommodate 20 frames. We also have one that is only 10 frames for smaller apiaries. It has a heating, it has a ventilation, it has a humidification. You need humidification to have the same humidity that is existing or from the hive throughout the entire process of the heat treatment. You have calibrated sensors, they measure very, very precisely. You have an electronic control unit that does it automatically. You just press the button, the thing runs for 2 hours, and after 2 hours you put the things back. So I combine this activity with my revision in spring, where I do the cleaning, take out the old frames, clean the bottom, do other activities on the hive, and by the time I'm done, the machine is also done. Maybe I run a second cycle because I have more than 8 hives, of course, and then I put the frames back, and as the bees are born, you see the dead mites exactly there where you have the treated frames. The treatment procedure is very simple. You prepare it, of course, you fill in water. It has a water basin. You preheat it 5, 6, 7 minutes. Then it gives you a signal that it's warm and humid like a hive. Then you hang in the brood frames without bees. You brush off the bees. You place the sensor in the middle. You run the treatment, and then you give back the frames to the hive. So there's a video on the varroacontroller.com. It explains it in 5 minutes. It's very simple. This typical result after heat treatment. When do you see this result? Well, the mites are falling right after the treatment as the bees are born, but latest, and that is the nice thing, latest on day 12, as you very well know, and then you add 2 more days for cleaning the cells. After day 14, the thing is done. So everything that falls in this period of time, it's due to this treatment. So you can allocate it very nicely to your intervention here with heat treatment. The second thing, you say, okay, I understand. In spring, I have relatively smaller number of capped brood frames, that's 2 or 3. But how is it in summer? Okay, in summer I have a lot more, and then it will take a lot of time. But no, here we have developed this, as we call it, a Duplex-Framebox. I have one here for you. So this Duplex-Framebox is duplex because it can accommodate 2 frames, and of course it has a separator here. The queen is locked inside. The bees can go through, but the queen can only lay eggs inside the box, and she will lay eggs on these 2 frames. Okay. How do I use that? It's an excellent tool. I do it 24 days before the honey harvest. Usually at midsummer. 21st of June. 21st of June, there is still the linden flower fully blooming in Vienna. Everything is nice. I take the frame where the queen just laid a few eggs and she's located on that frame if I'm lucky. I place her here inside and I put a foundation next to it. Okay? And then I close the lid, it locks, and I hang it inside the brood chamber. Here and here, everywhere is of course also brood. And then 12 days later, I'm coming again. 12 days later, I take out this box, open the box, the one frame that we had in here, that where the eggs were just laid, is of course now capped. 12 days later, it's capped. In any way, capped. But not yet born. So I open carefully. I take out the frame. Here's the queen. Okay, be careful. So I take it out. And the other one, which was a foundation, linden flower is blooming, don't forget, is already built. And if the queen is a good queen, she already laid eggs on the other one. So I leave it. I just take out this one and replace it with a, no, not foundation. It's too late in the year. No? So we already have beginning of July. I put it with an empty built, an empty but already built frame, so that the queen can immediately lay eggs. So I close it again. And place it again in the middle of the brood chamber. So what will happen in the next 12 days? These and these brood is all born, because it's 24 days in total, not 12 times 2 is 24. All bees are born on this and on this side, and the mite has only one chance to reproduce. Here. In these two frames. These are the only open frame, open brood frame, where they can go in, and they all go in. And so with this tool, I catch the mite in the hive. And on day 24, I usually do my triathlon. Triathlon means honey harvest, take away the honeysucker, bring it to the centrifugation, take out this one, put it next to, then I brush all the bees in a bucket. It goes very fast. I don't have to be careful because the queen is in the box. I brush off the bees in a bucket and then I check the frame. This is a dark, very dark frame, often used. I put it aside. This is a fresh pollen, put it back. So I exchange, out of my 10 frame, I usually exchange 4 or 5. And I put foundation. Okay? And so I renew my wax. So then I take the frame, well, I first take the queen, put it on a little container. Then I take these two frames, exactly 2 frames per hive. I take it to the Varroa Controller, do the heat treatment. I can do 10 hives with 2 frames, so in one batch. And I have the bees in the bucket, where I can apply whatever to get rid of the attached mites, which is usually very little. And then I put the bees on top, let the queen run in, place the lid and give 6 liters of sugar water. And you have 0 mite in that hive at the day of the honey harvest. It's a very, very needed requirement for healthy bees in autumn. Okay? So these are the advantages. The bees are less breeding, of course. The queen is breeding, but with maybe 40–50% of her capacity, for these 24 days. The linden is still blooming and have 20% more honey. That's obvious. I have new wax renewed. situation in my hive. The old frames are empty, and I can treat against the attached, no, Samuel Ramsey, not phoretic, attached mites at this moment, because of a brood-free hive. And then I can also assess what is how do the frames look like? Is the queen laying with a good performance? If not, that's the time to change her, because I have a brood-free hive. So this is the situation then for me it's usually mid of July. I start mid-summer, 21st of June, 15th of July, I'm finished with this procedure, and I'm ready for another 4 to 5 months of breeding, and there will be another 4 to 5 months of breeding again. And this is a requirement: 0 mites after honey harvest. For those who don't have a Varroa controller, who cannot do a heat treatment, they can also say, you know what, these 2 frames per hive, I sacrifice. Yeah? I sacrifice and I get rid of them. But those who can use them, we are using this Zander frame size. That's 6,000 times 2 is 12,000 bees. Yeah? 12,000 bees per hive, so I can create new colonies. I usually take 6 of those after the heat treatment, plus a kilo of bee, plus a queen, and I have a super nice new colony. Yeah? So that works just perfectly. And so this is the autumn situation, step 3 in the process. We are approaching autumn. I usually see when I have 0 in July, I have almost 0 in August, and then in September it usually begins. Yeah? And in my place in Vienna, my routine is mid of October, I do another heat treatment. And this is absolutely needed to do a heat treatment in mid of October, because there are so many hives where hives who are collapsing, unfortunately. If you are standalone somewhere, you don't have to do anything anymore, of course. But I have to. I have massive reinfestation as a problem. But with this 3rd heat treatment in October, which is essential, I can get rid of the mites. And at the same time, I don't have to wait for anything. At the same time, I also take care of the attached mites and do a treatment against those. So I again go back to almost 0. And that's it. I close my hive and I open again, like last weekend, where they already bring in pollen and I see they're all alive. So there is no opening in January or in Christmas time. No. So what is this treatment plan all about? I have an approach. I have a system where I can say, well, it's ready for all year breeding. I can always do something. I have this wonderful opportunity to catch the enemy, if I can call the Varroa mite like that. I can catch her at the beginning of her reproduction. And don't forget, if I kill a mite in April, that is May, June, July, August, September, is 32 not existing mite in September. So there is one mite that I kill in April, is 32 not existing mite in September. Really. And I have, with this combination of this Varroa Controller and the Duplex-Framebox, I have healthy bee colonies, and I have so many followers and clients, basically, yeah, who do the same, and they just super happy. From 3 hives, 30 hives, 200 hives, they use this system. So may I summarize? No losses in healthy bees. No losses refers to no losses to the Varroa mite. There may be other reasons why you lose a hive, but not to the Varroa mite anymore. You have healthy bees. Yeah? it's a safe way to treat against the mite, and the treatment can be applied anytime in the season. That's a big advantage. So if you, for instance, sometimes in May or in June, I don't know when that is in your country, if you say, now I'm creating new colonies, I maybe do take brood from different colonies, I want to create a new one. Yeah, what do I do with this brood? Before I form a new colony, I put it in the Varroa Controller, do a heat treatment, and have a perfect start for a new colony. And I can also expand the honey harvest to later blooming periods because my bees are still fit due to the spring treatment. Okay? So, well, we have a lot of happy clients. I don't want to read all of these things. What I want to say here, I'm really happy that I could present you this one. And guess what? My book is available since this week, also in English. But it's not yet available because it's a little gift to you. I will put it after the webinar online on our website, and you can have a free download, and it's now available also in English. Okay, I hope you like it. And if you have questions, you can always write me. The whole annual treatment plan is described in the book. How do I go through this season, this spring, summer, autumn? If it was too fast for you, you can read it here and follow if you want. Yeah? So this you can find then after the webinar. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. I hope you have a lot of questions. I am ready to answer them. Thank you very much.
Okay, everybody, thanks a lot. This was a great talk. It's strange for you. You can't get any applause or anything like that. It's just totally silent. But I can tell you, we were 39 people in the talk, super. And they're still there. Good time, huh? So this is very good for you. Yes. Give me a second. I had some problems with my camera. Yeah. Yeah. I will just fix it. But I have lots of questions from the participants, and I will start with a few of them. I have on a paper here, and it will be kind of a mixture. Do you regard Varroa tolerance as a possibility, or what is your opinion about Varroa tolerance and the Varroa tolerance work? Because you kind of explained in the beginning that the only possibility is that we have to treat.
Okay, I'm not an expert on these things. I'm following this discussion. This discussion goes for a very long time now. I've been attending several meetings, and I doubt that there is any solution in the future. So,
at least I agree with you that we talk things, about.
But because if there is a Varroa tolerant bee, I would be very, very surprised and very happy at the same time. But until then, I think we have to have tools. We beekeepers, we like to have tools, and I presented you 2 tools which you can apply throughout the year and have trick the Varroa mite and get rid of her.
Okay. So already now here, there's people talking about, could we get you a business secret? What is the temperature that you're using in the boxes?
You have no secret.
And maybe
it's 5 to 6 degrees more. Yeah? It's simple. Yeah?
Then, so is it 42 degrees or what is it?
But you know, okay. You can imagine that I have done several times this presentation. And yes, it's always the first question. Yeah? But no, it's not important. It's important the time, the temperature, the humidity. These things come together, and they are all programmed in our control unit, and it does it fully automatically. You know? And I'm sure there are other sets of parameters that you could use. We are very satisfied with the ones we have chosen, and this is how it works.
Okay. There was one of our beekeeper asking you're not working with drone brood
No,
remover
we
or
need to.
anything
We
like
need.
that.
We man has. We have to be a bit more. No.
Okay. Now we're getting a question back to
Huh?
the humidity. Why
Because
is that
otherwise
so
they would dry
important?
out.
Why is it?
It's very simple. Huh?
Yeah.
They would dry out. They,
Aha, so
you know here, especially in spring. In spring, you have capped brood, and in the outer circle you have open brood. And you don't want to lose the open brood. You have to have a humidity that is the same that in the hive in order to not harm the open brood, which you don't want to have, but you have it in spring on the frames.
because that was also one of the next questions. Where have you ever kind of calculated how much brood are you losing of the seal brood and of the open brood?
This is minor. If you would have eggs, for instance, eggs, they will not survive the treatment. But I don't have to use them. Yeah, you see, I have. It's you don't have to treat all your frames. It's enough if you bring the level down to a level where it is not harming your hive, is not reaching the 1,000 in the next 2 months. That's enough. Because then you will apply the Duplex-Framebox and catch them. It's very simple, actually.
Okay. So that will be kind of the same humidity that we have in what we call a queen breeding box, which is about 65% or something like
humidity.
that.
There is no too much for humidity. Okay, there's only too little. Yeah. There's only too little.
Okay. Okay. So there's another. This is a very practical question. So you take your brood frames, you remove them from a colony, and then you make the heat treatment. Another one is asking, do you sometimes lose queens or something like that because you remove them from you could say from the brood, from the center?
I mean, first of all, the queen is where the open brood, where the eggs are usually. I'm not interested in these frames, but certainly I start from the side carefully. Here I come to the capped brood cells, watch them, check carefully, or I saw her already on another frame, then I just brush off the bees and it goes very fast. I mean, this is skills you have. You allocate your queen first, and then you take out these 2 frames or 3 frames.
Everybody, give me 1 second. The alarm is running here in my office. I have to shut it off. Please, Wolfgang, tell something else.
Okay. I tell you that the most important thing is, as you very well know, that you have a complete plan. And what I was presenting you is more the plan. More the plan that considers the 4 facts that have been given at the beginning. And then you use these 4 facts. You use the information. Where is the mite? Exactly. When is she where? And then you can actually apply the concept to the best of yourself and the best for the beehive. That you can catch the mite and take her out. And by the way, for both, for the Duplex-Framebox, there's also a very, very nice 3-minute video on our website. Have a look at it. It works exactly as it is described there. And why is it working like that? Why would, come on, why would the mite that is born here, why would she go in here just because I developed this box? No. The mite is blind, as you very well know, but she smells. She is smelling the pheromone that are emitted from the open brood. And this is how they find from here to there. And they want to desperately reproduce. They are desperately looking for the place to reproduce. And this is the only 2 frames. They are here. And this is why I can call this Varroa trap.
Exactly. So there's 2 other questions now here. One is asking, what is the temperature in March, April in Vienna? could that be kind of the same
You know,
as we have in
I
Denmark? I mean,
usually do this when it's 17, 18 degrees. Outside temperature.
okay,
Then and only then.
okay,
And indeed, it's a very good question because you have to be very, very careful that you are not cooling out the frames before they come into the warm and humid machine. So you take it out, you brush off the bees, and then you know, la, 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 la. No, no, no. You take it immediately from the warm of the hive into the warm of the machine. You close the lid, and then you can take all the time you need to find the next one, but then immediately bring it to the machine so that you are not losing temperature. This is important.
and then there's another question. How late in the season are you able to kind of do the
Again,
same procedure? You do
yeah,
that
again,
late in the
I said, usually I do it mid of October. Mid of October I do my
yeah.
autumn treatment, not because I couldn't do it later, because I want to do it round about that time. Can I give an example? Yeah, I was moving my bees in Vienna from A to B. B is the new situation. I have it there now. I had it there now, and I was checking my hives. It's a new situation. I don't know the neighbors. La 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 la. So end of September, I was down to 0.7, 0.5 mites per day, daily mite fall. End of September, you would say, well done, finished for the year, isn't it? No. Until 7th of November, I counted 2,000 mites per hive coming into my colonies. And the only chance that I could combat with this massive reinfestation was a heat treatment in mid of October. And of course, then I had to apply something to get rid of the attached mites.
And now this is giving the next two questions. Let's go to the virus thing. How is it? I mean, you have 2,000 mites in the colony. Probably there will be virus. Do you know anything about the virus and heat treatment and do we get rid of the virus? Probably not.
We have strong evidence that for heavily infestated hives with a spring treatment, you can get rid of this problem of crippled wings very early. We have seen, I cannot prove you, but we have seen that this situation massively improves when you do a heat treatment in the beginning of the season. Huh? This is what we saw.
Then we have another question, which I think is quite important. It's from Sophus and Lars. What about the drones? And yeah, the drones, if they have been into heat treatment, are they able to mate still? Do we kill the semen and the drones? Yeah.
This is an old story. I do my heat treatment way before the drones. It's very simple, way before.
Okay.
And I have even how do you call them in English? I don't know. Where you bring your queens, so to inseminate the father colonies, the breeding stations. Yeah, they are also using the Varroa controller way before the actual generation of drones are born to mate the queens. So it's just a matter of timing. I'm not going into this possible damage of sperms. We just do it before, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Then another question. What happened was it? You talk about the attached mites when you have this. I call it when you have the queens or the brood in the boxes, and you talk about the attached mites. And you'd also talk about if there's lots of mites in the colony, then you do some kind of treatment. How do you remove the attached mites?
There are several ways. One could be powder sugar. A very good results
Okay.
with powder sugar. What I do is, you know, this I guess iced sugar it's also called. So it's super fine sugar. And the
Yeah.
problem of this
Yeah.
sugar, the problem of this sugar is that it takes humidity so fast that it gets really big grains and then it's not working anymore. Yeah? So I fooled around a bit and I found if you mix very, very fine grind rice flour, 1 to 5, yeah, then you have a powder that is, rice can deal much better with humidity, as you very well know. Then you have a powder that works very well and that stays very fine also through by being confronted with humidity. Yeah. So mix it with rice powder
Okay.
and it works very well. Yeah.
I thought I could get you here, but that you were telling that you were using oxalic acid treatment or
Never.
something like
I'm
that.
not you.
So you
Sorry,
don't,
sorry. I
you
don't.
never,
I'm.
yeah,
I love my comb honey. Okay, so the fresh honey
yeah.
that is done here in the hive, and I never used any contact poison because I don't want to use that. Yeah?
Okay, I got it. Great. La 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 la. Now we got another. This is a very practical question from one of our participants. He says, "Okay, sounds nice, everything. What do I do if I have my colonies on a remote place
No
without
problem.
electricity,
Yeah,
kind of?"
half of our clients do have it. The smallest generator will do. 800 watt is enough. So that's like a suitcase, a small one. This is not loud. It's just 20-meter cable and it just runs and that's it. Yeah? This is what
Okay.
our half or even more percentage, so more than half of our clients are using a little generator. No problem.
And then another question is actually, how is it with the mites? Do they die
No,
right away
no,
from the
very
heat
good
treatment,
question.
or do they get sterile, or do they die
Oh, okay,
within,
what it
let's
is,
say, some
this
days?
heat treatment, I was once presenting in an apitherapy congress and there was a doctor, a medical doctor, and he said, this heat treatment is also used with humans. Okay? What is the principle, what is the mechanism that is applied here? You want to create the formation of heat shock proteins that cause cell damage. And where do we want humans, where do we want to have cell damages? Cancer cells. So in Japan, they use a lot of heat treatment, local heat treatment to cause these cell damages, and the same is happening with the Varroa. The Varroa suffers cell damages that lead to the death of the mite. So if you do the heat treatment and then you say, now I'm very curious, 2 hours later I open the cell and see if she's still alive. She will be still alive, but if you want to do this experiment, do it 20 hours later and she will be dead. Yeah? So she will die within 20 hours roundabout on cell damages that are caused by the heat.
Okay, great. I have just one question left. As you can see, this way of making a talk is giving a
Yes,
lot of good
I like it.
questions, much more than when you are in a you're using this. I call it a natural mite fall on the insert. Do you have any opinion about the other ways? You could do it with powder sugar. You could do it with uh, um, soapy water. You could even do it with alcohol
I
washing.
think whatever is best for you, you do it. The important thing is that you do something that you are able to answer question number one: how many mites do you have in your hive? And this is, I always say, approximately right and not exactly wrong. You should have a rough number, and this rough number should be the basis for your planning. And I also think we should plan. We should plan, don't get me wrong, we should plan the Varroa level in our hives. I mean, of course, we plan it low, but we should really plan it. Like we plan queen breeding, like we plan the honey harvest like we plan on any other thing. So really control it. And we should be able to see, here's something changing within the last 3 weeks. It was changing dramatically from A to B, and usually let's say the hives on the very end corners of a stand of 15, they usually attract more mites, one can prove, and then you see, number 1 and number 15 is all of a sudden going up. Okay, what do? I do a heat treatment on those in order to prevent that they infestate me the rest. Yeah.
Okay, great. Now there's a bit of confusion between the participants there. How the treatment in your Varroa Controller machine, that's 1 hour, isn't it?
It runs 2 hours.
2 hours.
Huh?
Okay. 2 hours. Yeah. Okay, great. Great, thanks.
Okay, I can be more precise. For frame size, actually, where the height is up to 27 centimeter is the standard machine. The standard machine runs 2 hours. If you have large Dadant or jumbo frames, then you need the X large machine, and this machine runs 2 hours 20. Yeah? So this is the standard. Yeah? And there's an X large where you can the tall frames, and of course they need a bit more time to warm up. So this is why it runs 2 hours 20. But the standard frame is 2 hours. Okay.
I just put it to your last slide here.
The book.
So, oh, sorry.
The book you can have.
The book.
Yeah?
Is it already online, or will it come online?
If I can go to the other computer, I will put it online for you. Yeah.
No, I mean, if within the next days, it would be great for the.
You have it within.
Okay,
I was waiting. It's ready. Huh? I was waiting as a courtesy for you. Announce it here, and then you have it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
great.
sure.
Thanks a lot.
So we did everything that we can offer you this one to read, and I hope you like it. It's a bit of a different style of book because there is a beekeeper talking to you, and you will see. Yeah?
Okay, we're looking forward to that, and we will download it.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. We did 1 hour. It was very interesting. It was very interesting to listen to you, and you did it in a very nice way and very living way. And I liked it when you used your equipment and kind of showed it on the camera. It's getting things much more closer to the beekeepers. So now it will be very strange for you because in a few seconds I stop the recording, and then you are in your office.
Tell you that before it gets very strange for me. Have a look, for those who are interested, have a look at these 2 videos. They are also on the first of the landing page, as we call it, of our website, and it gives a bit more a rounder picture of how to apply these 2 instruments, the Varroa Controller and the Duplex-Framebox. So have a look at it. It takes a couple of more minutes, and then you have a more complete picture. And I would like to thank you for the invitation. I would like to thank the audience for being patient and listening to my Austrian English. I hope you could understand it. Yeah? If not, you can write me an email, and I will type it in here. It's very simple. info@varroa-controller.com, and I'm happy to, yes, it's correct, to answer your question if there is any. Okay, thank you very much. And
yeah, and you should just read the comments in the chat, and everybody's saying thank you, super great talk, very exciting. So thank you very much, and talk to you next time.
Good evening from Vienna.
Thank you.